Good afternoon and welcome to Hot Hoops. I'm your host, Andrew Badillo, and I'm joined alongside Quinnipiac women's basketball beat reporter Maury Hirschgordon. And Maury, the team has got to be feeling good heading into its big game with Iona on Friday, defeating Marist 79-57 and Siena 76-60 last week. Maury, we're going to get to the highlights of the Marist game first, and then we'll discuss the game a little bit. Here we go, taking it out to Lender Court. Quinnipiac taking on Marist in a pretty big rivalry in the MAC. Marist a little down this year. Let's get it out to the court. First quarter, Jen Faison to find Adeline Martucci in the corner for the tray. Nice shot there. She finished with 14 points. Still in the first half, Paula Stroutman is going to rip through and take this one right to the basket for two. Oh, rather, I'm sorry, right there. There's a jump shot. Here's Stroutman taking it to the basket for two. QU's in a lead 36-29 at the half. Second half action now. Morgan Mans with a cross-court pass to Carly Fabry for the three. Excellent shot. Quinnipiac struggling from three-point range in the past, but in this game they were solid. They shot 41% from three. There you go, Jen Fay with another layup, adding to her total on the game. She had 14 points. Quinnipiac absolutely dominating down low. Morgan Mans for a layup. QU wins 79-57. All right, we're back. Maury, now let's talk a little bit about the Marist game. Quinnipiac did go away from the gold rush in that game. Was that the solution to their success?
Andrew, I think it was definitely the solution. You know, you look in years past and you have the 2014-15 team that a lot of people like to reference every single year because Quinnipiac's at the top. Are they good? Are they good enough like the 2014-15 team? And that team was very special, was very rare. As you know, you covered the team as well. 23-0, first team ever to do that in the MAC. Quinnipiac that year didn't have to shoot a lot of shots to make a lot of shots. Players like Jasmine Martin, Nicoline Ostergaard, Val Driscoll shot almost 60% that year, the transfer from Michigan. You look at the Quinnipiac teams now, they rely a little bit more on depth. They are a little bit more athletic, but that raw talent is just not there yet. You look at players like Erin McClure and Paula Stroutman. Coming into it last year, they didn't have to have the burden of scoring the ball because you had a player like Maria Napolitano. They were freshmen and they were very young. And other teams, you know, they hadn't scouted them as much. There wasn't a lot of tape. Now you look at it this year, and the sample size is bigger. Everybody knows Erin McClure. Everybody knows Paula Stroutman. You know, now they're learning how to lead. They're learning, you know, how to be the focal point in the offense. So it was just a big transition, and the middle of that MAC schedule just got a little tough. They lost a couple games on the road. They didn't really shoot that well, but I think they're learning now how to play better. And without the gold rush, the more minutes they're on there on the court in the game, the more hustle plays there are, the more shots made, and the more continuity they have between everyone on the court.
Yeah, Trisha Fabry running the gold rush, at least as long as we've been here. The term coined by our previous general manager, John Alba. But yeah, Maury, I mean, Quinnipiac, you know, people panicked a few weeks ago when they lost those first two games in a row. One of those games was to Iona, who defeated them last year in the MAC championship game. Big game coming up this Friday at 5 o'clock here at the TD Bank Sports Center. Maury, your predictions for the game. What is Quinnipiac going to have to do to defeat Iona?
Well, I think Quinnipiac needs to do exactly what it did against Marist. You look at that highlight, I think you had 7 or 8 different names you said who scored the ball for Quinnipiac, if not more, you know, just in that highlight. So I think definitely the number one thing is the guards need to make perimeter shots. You look at Adele Thornton, a player who wasn't brought in to score the ball that much, wasn't even that great of a shooter. But when she comes on the court and she hits 8 of her last 16 threes from deep before that Siena game, that makes the defense respect the three-point line. It makes the defense respect her as an offensive threat, and it opens up a lot of lanes for players like Erin McClure, Morgan Mans, Sarah Schuh, and Paula Stroutman down low. So when you expand the defense, the offense will reap a ton of rewards. I think you also need to make free throws. Quinnipiac shot 45% from the line against Iona in New Rochelle the last time the Bobcats faced the Gales and lost, and they also need to stay out of foul trouble. I think Paula Stroutman needs to learn. If she misses a close shot, it's okay. It's a physical mistake. Just don't let that frustration come out and say, okay, now I'm going to take a foul 90 feet from the basket when Iona hasn't even had the ball, you know, for more than 2 seconds in the shot clock. No need to take those second and third personal fouls before the halftime whistle.
Okay, so you mentioned a lot of great things there, a lot of things Quinnipiac needs to improve on against Iona. Just really quickly before we get to the next question, are they the clear favorite in the MAC?
I think you know, I think I know, I think, you know, everybody here knows they are definitely the clear favorite. 620 win seasons back to back. But yes, clearly the top.
Okay, so they're the clear favorite to win the MAC. We think that they're their favorite. However, but will they actually get it done this year and defeat whoever they play, potentially Iona, potentially Ryder down the road?
Well, if Marie Napolitano wasn't hurt last year, I think definitely this team would have gotten it done, barring, a bad shooting night. So I think barring an injury, this Quinnipiac team is at the top. I think they definitely win the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference regular season. They will get to the championship game, and then anything can happen. I think this team is prepared. I think one of the biggest things that Trisha Fabry implemented this year that has gone unknown is the two new assistant coaches. You bring in Talia Marks, who's the director of basketball operations. She has ACC experience playing at University of Virginia. And you bring in a coach in Destiny Hughes, who's the fourth assistant coach on the bench. She not only played at LSU, she was also a graduate assistant for 2 years and brought them to an NCAA tournament in 2014, 2015. When I'm at that game at Fairfield a couple weeks back, Quinnipiac's not having a good game. They ended up losing that game. Adelie Martucci visibly upset, crying on the bench, upset. She didn't make a lot of shots. Her team didn't really play well. Destiny Hughes brings Adelie Martucci down the bench and she talks to her. And I asked Adelie a couple games later, hey, what did Destiny tell you? She said, look, I just got to keep my head up. I have to be positive. It's not all about winning all the time. We got to make sure we stay together as a group, because if you play your best basketball at this point in the season, starting on Friday, the last couple weeks into the MAC playoffs, then you definitely have a shot to win the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference. So those two coaches, Talia Marks and Destiny Hughes, the fact that they played so recently, they have such a great connection with the current team. Not that Fabry and Mount McGilvery and Danielle Brennan don't have that connection, but since they have the connection to the college game only a few years ago, since they're just a few years removed from the college game, they have that great connection that will put Quinnipiac over the top.
Cohesive unit down the stretch, that's going to be the key for Quinnipiac. Maury, thanks. Here, just to update you all on the MAC standings, I'm going to give you the top four. Ryder at 14-3, Quinnipiac at 13-3, Fairfield at 11-5, and Iona at 10-6. That is the next opponent on the list for Quinnipiac. Friday at 5 p.m. at the TD Bank Sports Center. Maury, thank you for joining us. You all can follow him on Twitter at Mahirsch, M-A-H-H-E-R-S-H. When we come back on Hot Hoops, the men's basketball team still has a shot at a first-round bye in the MAC tournament. Tom Cunningham stops by to discuss its chances and recap its games against St. Peter's and Ryder.
It's 9:30 Eastern, and you know what that means. Sports Pause is on the air.
Ball played up the middle. Iman Whalen with a little cheat off the pipe. Preseason just boils down to going after another national championship and not necessarily focusing on the one before.
MJ, it is time for our favorite part of the show. It's the top 5 plays of the week, brought to you by B&D Deli, home of the Q-Dog.
Let's talk about the first play you want to break down.
Yeah, let's break it down right away.
But the one name I'm going to throw out there is a freshman, Mika Maples.
Coming up on Bobcat Breakdown.
Coming up on Bobcat Breakdown.
And welcome into Studio 125.
So what? So what?
If you score 40 points in a basketball game, we all know you play Quinnipiac Intramurals. We all know you love to shoot the rock.
Well, if you think that's the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard, what I'm about to say, I guess, is going to be pretty ridiculous in your book. But I'm going to say, yes, there is a controversy.
Line, getting ready to punch the ball as it lands right in front of another Monument player.
Back to Hot Hoops. The men's basketball team dropped both its games this past week to St. Peter's and Siena. Here to break it down is men's basketball beat reporter Tom Cunningham. Tom, how are you?
Andrew, I'm happy to be here. Always good to get on the desk with you.
Fantastic, my man. Tough week for the Quinnipiac men's basketball team. Really just putrid performance on offense against St. Peter's. Let's talk about that game first. What really happened to Peter Kiss and Mikey Dixon? They've been so great all year and then just disappeared in that game.
Yeah, I mean, they ran into the number 1 scoring offense in the MAC. St. Peter's only allows 61.6 points per game. Quinnipiac shot just 27% as a team. Mikey Dixon went 2 for 11 with 6 points. Peter Kiss 4 for 9 with 9 points. The two combined for 15 points. On the season, Dixon averages 16.2 points. Kiss averages 13.7. They were just out of rhythm. Tom Moore, after the game, said that St. Peter's has the best half-court man defense in the league. And when you run into that and a tough shooting night with a tough defense on the other end, it's just not going to work out. It's just not going to work out for this team. In January, when this team played at St. Peter's, Kiss and Dixon also struggled. So it has to be something that this team does to limit the two freshmen. St. Peter's has a lot of seniors in that starting lineup. So I think it's just a combination, just a tough shooting night and St. Peter's tough defense that really just causes problems for Kiss and Dixon.
That's almost like the Bill Belichick mantra. We're going to take away the best thing you have and force you to beat us with something else.
Right.
Quinnipiac definitely struggled in that game. Then the tides turned a little bit. They dropped 107 points against Rider. We're going to take you out to that highlight down in New Jersey. Quinnipiac taking on Rider in the Garden State. Let's get right to it. In the first half, Jimmy Taylor dribbles down and misses the layup, but Norville Carey is going to clean it up. And a little bit later on, Chase Daniels with the nice little hook shot. And then a little bit later on, Daniels again. Jimmy Taylor is going to get another three right here. He had 37 points. Rider again on offense. Alley-oop. They shot, well, I'm sorry. We're going to take it to the second half. Rider led by 5 at the second half. Taylor again crashing the lane, causing problems for the Bobcats. They really had no answer, but Andrew Robinson played very well in limited time, scoring 17 points. Here are a couple threes, however, Rider was too much, winning 112 to 107. Chase Daniels after the game.
We didn't really compete on offense. We were a little sloppy. If we would mess up on the defensive end, we might try to compensate for it from offense tonight. That's not the team to do it against because they play between you and the basket. You know, they want to make you earn, your offensive trip. We got to tighten up on defense. Defense was key tonight because the ball didn't go in for us, and that hurt us. We were making sloppy plays on defense, not communicating. It didn't look like Quinnipiac basketball, and we can't do that moving forward.
All right, Tom, like I said, 107 points. They lost 112 to 107. But what changed on offense for this team? Was it the fact that you're not going against St. Peter's on defense, or?
That might be part of it, but the easy answer is shots just went in this game for them. They went from shooting 24% for 3 against St. Peter's to going 16 for 38 for 42% against Rider. Anytime you increase a percentage by that much, it's going to have an impact in the game. You're going to score a lot more points. Also in that game, Phil Winston got to the line 13 times, made 10 of 13 free throws. Andrew Robinson chipped in 5 points. They got to that secondary scoring that we don't really see too often with this team. A lot of times it's Dixon, Kiss, and Chase Daniels that do the bulk of the scoring for this team. And this game you had Phil Winston and Andrew Robinson both chip in double-digit points. Daniel Harris chipped in another 8 points. So when you get that secondary scoring from 2-3 more players off the bench, it's going to help you out, and it's going to really be a catalyst for that offense to get those to get more points and just more scoring. But on the side for Rider, Jimmy Taylor I think he was just too much for this team. The 6'4" senior, he's a big guard, just had an outstanding shooting night. Hit 7 of 8 on 3-pointers. It's just both teams just got hot and shots just went in for both sides.
One game, the offense is the issue. The next game, defense is the issue. Let's take a look at the MAC standings for the Jekyll and Hyde Quinnipiac men's basketball team. Up top, Monmouth at 14-2, followed by St. Peter's at 11-6, Iona at 10-6, Canisius, who had a big win over Iona last night in the 4th spot at 9-7, Siena at number 5 at 9-7, followed by Fairfield at 8-7, Rider at 7-9, and there's Quinnipiac at 7-9, Niagara rounding it out at 6-10 at 9, and Manhattan at 10 at the bottom there. So Tom, really quick, just heading into the weekend. Huge game Friday night against Fairfield. Absolutely crucial. Every game is crucial for the Bobcats heading down the stretch. But what do Mikey Dixon, Peter Kiss, Chase Daniels, what do the top players on offense have to do for Quinnipiac against Fairfield?
I think they need to just play their game. Last time Quinnipiac played Fairfield at Fairfield, they won on a last-second shot by Peter Kiss. I think this team needs to just play their game. They need to rely on these 3 guys to do the bulk of the scoring in that game. And they should have a good chance to win. They need to limit Tyler Nelson on the defensive end because the last time these 2 teams played, Nelson went for 29 points. They're going to have to limit him. He's obviously one of the top players in this conference, one of the best guards that's out there. They need to do – the team shot 41.7% the last time Quinnipiac played Fairfield. So, I think this team is really going to have to just play their game. They're going to have to rely on Dixon, Kiss, and Daniels to do the bulk of the scoring and hopefully get some secondary scoring from someone like Andrew Robinson or Daniel Harris.
All right, very quick, in 10 seconds, does this team get a first-round bye?
No chance. I think the top 3 seeds are already locked in with Monmouth, Iona, and St. Peter's, and then I think Siena and Canisius are just playing too well right now to get knocked out of that first round.
That win by Canisius over Iona was crushing for any hopes Quinnipiac had. They do still have an outside shot. We'll see how things go on Friday against Fairfield, but that'll do it for this week's edition of Hot Hoops. For more information, please follow us on Twitter at Q30 Sports and visit our website at Q30television.com. You can also follow Tom Cunningham on Twitter at TomCunny13. He'll be there Friday at the men's basketball game against Fairfield. Again, thanks for joining us on Hot Hoops. We'll see you next week.